Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And look, folks, we have an outstanding 90-minute show for you. We have two major topics with a bonus topic that was unearthed in the chat. And I got some thoughts. I got some theories. We're going to break that down. That's going to be a segue into what I believe to be a fun but pointed topic. But State of Decay 3 apparently is going to be a sleeper hit. This is what some people are saying. If you read Jez Corden's article on it, well, I believe it was Jez Corden that said that this could in fact be a sleeper hit for Xbox. And what's interesting is listening to the WBG podcast, of course, Dirt Griggity and the gang from yesterday. I got a chance to listen to it. Phenomenal work as always. But they asked a specific question that was answered literally almost instantly. And how many games are actually like State of Decay? Folks, I'm here to tell you there are not many. Now, there may be some that are similar, but there's certainly no State of Decays. And if 3 turns out to be, quote, a sleeper hit, that's going to be another gas game that they had to put in another feather in Microsoft's, or specifically Xbox Game Studios, cap. And, again, it's not coming out this year. Could it release early next year? Well, if you follow the breadcrumbs, which I'm going to talk about later on, you could suggest that, or you can suggest the launch title for, of course, Project Helix. But we're going to get into it. We're also going to get into something that Tom Warren of The Verge said, and this is literally coming directly from Tom. I will read his tweet, and it's why the headline for today's show is what it is. We're going to get into that. And, of course, on the last half of the show, probably the last 20 minutes, because it's not going to be a big topic, but it is going to be a fun one. We're going to talk about something that was said in the chat that I want to give props to, of course, the person that brought it up, because I think that it is brilliant. And in fact, we are always so thrilled that there is so much chatter in this chat that they go back and forth politely with everyone. You don't get really a lot of trolls, which is awesome. And that's thanks to Lito Papa. But Infinite Umbra, you sound awake and ready to rock and roll, my brother. How the heck are you?
You would think I was another man, how energized I am right now.
Yeah.
This is me in rare form.
I love it.
Yes, indeed. I am very energized and happy to be here today. Good morning to everyone. Jamie, I never did get a chance to say it before we went live. Good morning to you as well, sir. Good morning, chat. I don't want to hear any disparaging comments and thoughts about Unreal Engine. I will be actively scanning the chat. I expect nothing but positivity today. That is all. Thank you for your attention on this matter.
You know what? I'm glad you said it, because I certainly was thinking it. And Unreal Engine 5 is leading the charge in State of Decay 3, by the way. So
indeed it is.
That we're happy to know that. But the elusive gamer Jamie Moran, who just put out one banger of a video of the top 20 games coming to Xbox, and I know that took you a long time. We're gonna plug it on the back end of the show. But how the heck are you, Jamie?
Hey, Boom and Umbra. Yeah, that video took a long ass time to make.
I bet it did, man. It's a good one,
yeah,
though.
I'm good. Lots of gaming stuff in the news. I just found out, Modern Warfare 2019 is coming to Game Pass.
Indeed, yes. Yep.
Which is, my God, that campaign's brilliant.
So good, yeah.
But yeah, good time to be a gamer. Starfield's got its update today. Yep. I'm sure we'll be talking about that at some point. But yeah, let's get into it.
Well, look. If you know what I would like to do, gentlemen in chat, is start off with a very hot button topic. That's State of Decay 3. Look, I will reference Jez Corden's article because it's a really good one. Obviously, Sunny Games is someone that I am now not only subscribed to but following. He has 30,000 subscribers. And he was given what I believe an absolutely incredible opportunity to be flown out to Seattle and to sit down and to talk with the game director of course, State of Decay 3. And my God, I've watched the video twice. Again, the sound, perfect. The commentary from Sunny Games, brilliant. The answers from the game director, honest, earnest, thought provoking, left nothing on the table. There was no room for misunderstanding. It's 48 minutes. At least I believe that's how long it is. And it's worth, if you are a fan of the series, if you are someone that even politely enjoyed State of Decay 1, 2, or of course are looking forward to State of Decay 3, which is going to be out next year, this is an interview that you should sit down and take the time to watch. I thought it was brilliantly done. Shout out to, of course, Sunny Games, who, of course, I will add not only his Twitter handle, so you should follow this dude, because he does talk a lot about State of Decay. Like, his channel seems like it's almost dedicated to it. He has been playing the alpha for over a year. The council that you've heard people talk about are community members. It's not no mythical, council of people that you don't know who they are. Sunny Games is one of them. And this council of gamers and content creators, Umbra, have been handpicked to help make this game better. Right? That's what you want. You want people that are going to play it, that are going to give you feedback that you can trust. They weren't randomly picked out of a hat. The director said so. They literally picked people who they thought would bring good, positive feedback to the game to make it better for the overall launch. Well, look, Umbra, State of Decay 3 is being made in Unreal Engine 5. Talked about that to open up the show. I know that you were smiling from ear to ear. One of the things that we have learned is that they have had help, not only from the Coalition for Unreal Engine, they've had help from the Grounded developer, Grounded 2 more specifically, in Obsidian. And they handed their code, meaning that Undead Labs handed their code for State of Decay over to Obsidian. And Obsidian added some additional tech, added some tweaks, some twerks, and they made it better. And when they handed it back to Undead Labs, well, this is what you have, and it's one of the biggest complaints for the game, and that was the being tethered to other players. Well, even though you're going to be somewhat tethered to some extent, the distance is going to be wide and far, where it's not going to feel like you're tethered. Like, literally, it's not like the servers that were used before. It's all new. So the fact that, let's say, for instance, you are playing with a total of 4 people, and 2 people want to go to the right and go as far as they can go, and 2 people said, hey, listen, we're going to go to the left and we're going to find as much as we can find. And everyone, even though they are not together, they are still working for the same goal, and that is for everything that they find is going to be a part of the settlement that you're all working towards. The game has been confirmed to take place several years after State of Decay 2. The government has been totally disbanded, and you're pretty much on your own. We do know from the story from Jez Corden and from the interview that the plague has evolved. The zombies are smarter, they're faster, and it's going to probably be a lot more terrifying. What it has already been described, Umbra, is that you're going to see the story beats, which was actually the heart of the game for State of Decay 1 return, but you're also going to see many aspects of 2. So basically, the way it was described in the article and described in the video is that it's the best of both worlds combined to make State of Decay 3. Obviously, graphically, it's expected to be leaps and bounds better than the original 2 because they were very budgeted games. And now you have help from the Coalition, you have help from Obsidian, and I don't think it ends there, because the way that the director explained it was that Microsoft's Xbox Game Studios is set up for everyone to pick up the phone and call someone when you need help, and that help arrives. And I think that is something that we've seen very prominently on Sony for many years. And I'm unbelievably excited to know that that is currently happening with Xbox Game Studios. But I want to hand the mic to you, and I want to get your thoughts on, first of all, did you watch the interview? Did you read the article that I sent in the DM? And are you excited for State of Decay 3?
So I did. I watched and I read more than anything just to get an idea of what to expect. Philip Holt, rather,
Yep.
to get understanding of that. He's the lead of what is it? Strike 37.
No, is Paris? Hold on, I'm on a different screen. Is Paris in there? Paris, welcome to the show, brother.
I'm apparently on strike 37. I don't know what I did.
That's a lot of strikes, sir.
But that said, I mean, yeah, I did. I got positives and I got at least one negative thought.
Okay, let's hear it, man.
I guess I'll start with the good. People tend to want the good news first. The good news, I mean, obviously, Unreal Engine 5. Did I have to say it? Unreal Engine 5. And like you said, the help, asking for help. Help is on the way. You got Unreal Engine 5, and who better to call than the Coalition? So they got the Coalition helping them, which is exactly what we've talked about in the past, and having these studios come through to assist others when it comes to Unreal Engine. Coalition being one of the most prominent, best users of it. It just makes, like Todd Howard would say, it just works and it just makes sense, right? So that made a ton of sense. If you don't get Epic themselves, which part of the Coalition probably are Epic developers and such too, speaking of which. But so they have them working on it, which gives me at least a lot more trust in that they're going to have this engine tooled well, right? Now, like you said, the untethered part, I didn't really, I'll just, to throw it out there, I played just a bit of part 1 of State of Decay. I understood what type of game it was. It's not particularly my type of game, simply because I don't typically like to try to base build and only go gather resources and resource management. Not really my vibe typically. However, 2 did entice me, but I couldn't find any. Well, maybe I didn't look too hard either. For teams to jump into. The permadeath part is pretty cool. I like that about the series.
I mean, it puts things on the line, right?
It does. It makes it much more serious. In terms of the much more serious nature. I mean, you play games of the ilk that deal with zombies. You die, you can come back. Well, not in this. You just die, right? And you lose all of that, your progress, everything like that. You have to continue on with a new person. With that in mind, I do like what they talked about they said the enhanced narrative. For me, I always love games with a good story. 2 things that have to work. 3 things, obviously, if you're going to go to a trifecta, and that's gameplay first,
right?
Story for me, second, and well, you could probably say controls, but I think that's kind of under gameplay. So gameplay first, story, and then visuals. And you could throw sound in there and all of that right directly after. Those things to me have to be there. So far, obviously, they have the visuals. If they, they have the story component they're talking about here with the enhanced narrative, and because they speak on it and say that the characters will now have memories, as they say, of community members that you played with, and if they die and things like that. So I like that, so they're making the permadeath much more like impactful. I appreciate that. It makes the stakes that much more serious. I mean, permadeath is serious in itself, but it makes,
especially when it's your favorite character,
for sure. And it would draw you more into that world, knowing like, oh Billy, yeah, they got him, and my character starts reflecting. I'm like, I told him not to go there. I saw my black sense was tingling. He didn't listen to me. Y'all know I always call it my black sense. I'm like Spidey, but
and we know how you feel about horror, sir. Yeah, we know how you feel about horror.
If I tell you something's wrong, you better listen to me. It's in my soul. So I told him not to go there. But and stuff like that. They have the thought of having tighter combat. That's always good. So the controls are getting there. What I'm talking about with gameplay. All of that sounds really good, and it sounds like the movement from other people I did speak to who are super fans of the series. You would know him, Pixel B. Pixel Bit G.
Yes.
Shout out to
indeed.
Pixel.
Shout
And
out.
he's a big time fan of the franchise, and I've talked with him about it, and he gave me a lot of insight. And he was talking about how the movement system is being like, I don't want to say changed, but they're improving upon that. So that sounds like a major positive. You are like I said, obviously you want to have great controls when it comes to things like that, especially if you're going to die permanently. So that combat being solid, all that feels really good. Now obviously they're moving to real development. We got the alpha coming up. I signed up for it. I'm sure you all have as well.
Absolutely. Yep.
All of that is good. I will say though, a few things I noticed over time in just playing games and knowing how Unreal works. Unreal is not the best when it comes to open world. So even though you're going to have the untethered thing going on here, I would wonder how big is the game world that we get to play in, right? It's not like it's going to be super small either, but it's not going to be super like large open world. And when I mean super large open world, I'm talking about, Crimson Desert-esque or Ubisoft-esque. It's not going to be that gigantic. It's probably going to be sections where you have to load into stuff, which is fine. That can work too. And I've heard that you when you go through these State of Decay, you load into a new area essentially anyway, like a new map.
Yes, after you do a certain amount of missions and your base is built up a certain size, in at least 2, from what I recall, it would open up another part or another area that would be just as big, potentially bigger than before, but you'd load into that new area where everything that you did in the other area was done, and now you were moving on to rebuild a base,
Right.
close out the zombie locations because they have those hordes, things of that nature.
Stuff like that. Paris says that he asked Undead Labs to deny my alpha application. That's all right. You gotta keep
my question to you would be, what strike is that for Paris?
You know what? Yeah, that's a good point. How many strikes does they give him, y'all, in the chat? How many strikes should they give Paris for trying to keep a good brother down? Shout out to everybody in the chat. I see you, BT. I see you, Why So Serious, and whoever else had shouted me out. I forget it was done. Let me stop shouting people out. Hey, everybody. Hello. All love. Yeah, strike 10. Okay, what's that? Strike 10 strikes for him. I'm with you, Cullen. So that said, my thoughts then would turn to no, you at 10, Paris. So my thoughts would turn to, okay, now I'll say this. This is the only thing I said that was a negative. Again, it not being fully open world, that's whatever. It's all how they choose to do it. I know that you get to get vehicles and such in there 2D driving around. We saw that even in the concept art. The thing I didn't like, and I'm pretty sure everybody is on board with this, with it being 6 years of development, by the time we get it, maybe 7, right? Maybe, who knows, 8, who knows how long it'll take. We're at the alpha here. They might delay, you never know. It did leave a thought in my head, like, wait a minute. So you had Blur, who was probably like top 3 ever of these, CGI game designers or whatever when it comes to these cutscenes and such. Probably number 1, right? Like we know them from Halo and everything else. Like they've done fantastic work. You had them make this in this kind of, I don't want to say proof of concept, but like this, this something of this, I guess what to expect. And we see like you got the zombie deer, and we're probably expecting we're going to have zombified animals, which it increases the enemy types in the game. That's pretty cool. And I remember that being a big deal for people when the zombie deer was like, screaming, and the lady started screaming back, and it's like, oh man, they're getting really serious with this. Okay. Well, it turns out you're not going to be able to do that. They don't have any zombie deers. They don't have any zombie animals, more than likely. He's saying, Holt said. And that was not even indicative of what the game was. When that was revealed, it was just a Word document. So it's kind of like, at the same time, I'm happy that they're here. But I think this would show at least to me, a reflection of not them necessarily, but with Microsoft or Matt Booty, where it's like, what were you all doing? Where this game was being in development for 6 years, and we're only here at this point, and none of that was actually the actual game in development. It would just make me wonder. Now, I guess it won't matter in the end if the game turns out to be excellent, and that's what I'm sure we're all hoping for, at the end product. Just makes me wonder, and and if it was a matter of maybe they finally got it together after the fact, that I don't know. I'll just hope that that doesn't impact things negatively for the game, when we get in it. And if I get an alpha, I'm going to give, direct feedback like, hey, I don't like this. I don't like that. I do like this. I do like that.
Yeah, I mean,
But
as you should. If you're playing
yeah,
the alpha and they do, you do get lucky enough to get in. That's the whole point. If there's something that you
for
don't
sure.
like, you shouldn't be pointed out. And if something you do like, obviously you'd point that out as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It just makes me wonder, like, because that gives me thought on, because there's one thing we could speak on with this game, but what other games did that happen on? Where we just got this little cutscene that wasn't really the game though. It
I
makes
mean,
me
there's been quite a few. I mean, I don't really know any off the top of my head. I don't know if the chat wants to get involved and kind of give us a heads up of what they remember about a game, about something being. Well, you know what? Something does come to mind. The Division. You remember the video of him, crouching, walking past, and closing that NYPD door
Mhm.
and getting into the firefight. I mean, that was a pre-rendered CG trailer that wasn't in the game and never was in the game. So that's
we
one that comes to mind.
we did have like the fact you could close doors and all that
No,
though.
you
Like they
could,
did
but
have
that
all
that
that.
particular instance where yeah, I mean, I guess you could close doors, but not to the effect that they
The way
showed
they had
in
it.
that trailer.
It was probably much more
Another Ubisoft
cinematic.
game comes to mind.
Yeah.
Watch Dogs was
Watch
another
Dogs for
one.
sure did it. Yeah. Watch Dogs definitely did it. I think Division was less so, but was more cinematic to your point than it was in the game. You still could close the doors, but not quite like they shown it at least when you got to it. But yeah. And my thing is that's fair because we know what they were aiming for. Like that was what they were aiming for. We got largely that. I'm just hoping that what they showed for that CGI trailer, rather, and I'm not expecting the gameplay to be exactly that, but I'm hoping a lot of it transitions to actual gameplay. From what we did see, though, I mean, looks pretty good. It is early still. I don't know, and I mean, we were seeing it off of monitors too, so we couldn't quite like, oh yeah, that's perfect. I know we got a few images that were outside of the monitor,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it was enough to look at it like, oh man, this looks really great. Then we got to account for the art style and things like that. And the art style dictates sometimes what the game is going to come out looking like. The fact that it's an Unreal, we can expect it to look pretty. It's just about how they apply things. So I'm excited for all of that. And again, I never really got into these games that way, but I am planning on doing so for this one. I do wonder, will it be this current gen or next gen? And more than likely it's going to be next gen, right? Or maybe cross
I mean,
gen.
I would imagine it's going to be cross-gen. I mean, you're going to be able to play it on your Series X or S for sure. You're going to be able to play it on PC, and it's going to work best with the, obviously the hardware that you have. And if you have really like banging hardware, it's going to look great. I talked about in the video that I posted this morning that we talked about yesterday, specifically about it potentially actually being a launch title for Helix. And there's a second half of that conversation that we're going to have on the back end of the conversation that we're about to have now, which I want to save because it comes the way of a a chat member that brought this up, and I have some thoughts and theories, and I don't want to give it away, so that's why I'm being very coy. But look, the game is at least, if you go based on the math, 12 to 14 months away, right? Like, because if Helix is holiday of 27, and this is going to be potentially, and again, I'm saying potentially, a launch title for that console. You're talking about, I mean, we're just in April. We just literally started April. So you're talking about, getting from here to the holidays of this year, and then potentially another 10 to 12 months, added on the back end, right? So if we get to, let's say, for instance, just for shits and giggles, let's take this to October. From October to October is 12 months. Added the months from April to October. You're talking anywhere between 15 to 17 months, getting the game ready to go gold, right? So there's plenty of opportunity. The fact that they're doing a public alpha now, and it's supposed to start in May, PS by the way, and of course they're gonna work on that, get the feedback, open it up to a beta, and then they're gonna hit the ground running. And the beta, and again, the alpha and the beta, we don't know how long each one is going to last, but it's going to potentially last a couple of months, giving them plenty of time to get the feedback, work that feedback into the game, good, bad, or otherwise, and have the game potentially ready for the release of Helix. Now, if it turns out that it's going to be somewhere in like a May release of next year, well, that's cutting it a little close, to be honest with you. You're talking about, we're in April. That's 13 months. Obviously, it's going to, in order for them to go gold, they're going to have to be close. They'd probably have to be close somewhere in, March, right? February, March, to be able to say, hey, we're going gold, right? And then the game comes out in May. Again, this is all speculation.
May make sense. I mean, the part 2 released in May and part 1 was in June. You would have thought maybe October.
Yeah.
But those released in June and May.
I mean, look, again, this is all speculation, but could the question that you might be asking yourself, Umbra, is could this be one of the games that opens up 2027's Xbox Developer Direct in January? Now, I believe it will be, simply because it's a game, it's a big game. It's going to probably get some shine over the summer. I have a strong suspicion, it's just my opinion, folks, that it is potentially going to show up at Xbox's June showcase. That's just my thought. In theory,
sure.
I could be wrong.
More than likely. Makes the most sense.
But great. Any additional stuff there, Umbra?
Nothing much else additional. Just my thoughts on it. I wanted to try to give a more robust answer, if you will, but I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I never really got too invested into the game before, outside of the first game, and then I was like, okay, well, I don't know if this is really my type. And the curse of having too much to play came up, right? So that was that. But I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to try to get a little squad or something like that to jump in and play and roam around, and hopefully nobody betrays me or something like that. We'll see what happens.
Now, hopefully not. But
I know not to play it with Paris, because yeah.
Well, I don't know. Can you kill each other? I don't know if that's even a thing.
If so, I'm going to push him right in the way. What's the name of those big bloater ones?
The bloater. That's exactly what they're called.
I'm going to push him right in front of it. Like, hey, look at this. Rah.
And you know what's funny? He specifically called out the bloater in the interview, saying that, first of all, it's massive. I think it's even bigger than the original one, where you can't just run a truck through it. So, I mean, if you go based on, what they showed, this thing might be about 8 feet, because they did say that the zombies and the outbreak itself has evolved. So these things are going to be smarter, faster, and more difficult to take down, especially a bloater. But listen,
do those bloaters like grab you and rip you apart or something?
I don't. They're really slow, so I don't remember being ripped apart by those things. I know that if they explode and you're near it, you are pretty much dead.
Okay. All right. I was just hoping. I'm just thinking in my head, like, what type of terrible death could happen to Paris if I pushed him into that thing? Like, would they rip him apart?
And he literally says, it says in the chat, "Oh wow, now y'all see." Why he's giving strikes. I think that's what he meant to say, but oh my goodness. Well, listen, Paris, thanks so much for being here, brother. Can't wait to catch up in June. Really appreciate you hanging out with us. And he says, I got y'all on a second screen while I work, and I'm hearing number wishing my violent death is wild.
Only in the game. I wish you nothing but health in life.
I'm glad you clarified that, kind sir. I mean, all right. So listen, Jamie, you've been sitting back, you've been listening, you've been watching. I'm sure you read it. I do have a couple of just real quick bullet points that I kind of want to go over. Now, addressing the no zombie deer. So I have two quotes here. First from Sunny Games. And he goes on to say, I'm not sure anyone has been more disappointed about the fact that zombie deer isn't going to be a thing in State of Decay 3. And I think he's talking about himself. I felt it could make the game stand out more, but honestly, at this point, I've played the game for close to a year, and I'm happy with what I got. Okay, so Jez Corden, who's been talking about the zombie deer in a couple of tweets, had actually wrote something, and I obviously he was addressing Sunny, and Jez goes on to say in this tweet, not having zombie animals in State of Decay 3 sucks for real. I always thought it would be a bit weird for the sandbox and its immersion that there's no animals, I guess he meant to say, running around. I mean, maybe they're all eaten. I don't know. But Blur did do the CG trailer. What we did learn about that CG trailer, which was very interesting, is that it was literally, there was no game. It was on a Word document about what they wanted to do. Blur made this trailer. It was obviously approved and it was put out there. And a lot of us got excited because, like, oh my God, they're expanding the world. And now there are zombie animals. This is going to be crazy. And it turns out that it was just, cannon fodder, so to speak. Look, I'm going to be honest. Am I disappointed? I guess a small piece of me really wanted zombie. Like, it would be crazy to fight a zombie bear, right? Like, if you're going through the wilderness, you and your crew, and you see this giant grizzly that's deformed chasing you. My God, that's terrifying just to think about. But they have so many of the zombie types themselves, like the bloaters and many of the other ones that have evolved. There may not have been enough room to have all of that going on. So look, I get it. And I'm sure based on what we've seen and some of the quotes I read yesterday with people that are actually playing the alpha, people are coming away incredibly excited and they are very much enjoying themselves. But Jamie Moran, let's bring you in. Let's talk State of Decay 3. Did you get a chance to read the article or at least watch the video? And what are your thoughts, your expectations for this game?
Yeah, I got a chance to watch the video. I'll mention the trailer thing quickly because I feel like the game industry is kind of played with this and has been for a while, where we get these trailers years in advance and people wonder for like half a decade, where the hell's this game? It's been going on for a very long time. Like you mentioned, the whole Division thing with the door. Like, remember when that came out, everyone was like, oh my God, can you believe they shut the door? People were so amazed, but like that wasn't really in the game. The thing with Watch Dogs, where you could turn off all the city lights using your phone, you couldn't really do that. You could just turn off like a small area's lights, but the game industry is being filled with this. Like Elder Scrolls 6 was announced with the CGI trailer. It's still not here. Let's see. Oh yeah, Anthem. That was announced with a completely fake trailer. The developers literally had to make the game look like that. Another game, which I think it was announced in 2021, Wolverine. That was announced where it just showed you like Logan's hand on this bar
in the bar.
Game.
Yeah,
that was the thumbnail for like 55,000 PlayStation podcasts and videos for 4 years. And Fable was announced with a CGI trailer in 2020. Right, so it's not nothing new, that this stuff happens. I'd love it if these companies stopped doing it, but it's just a practice that's been going on forever. The lack of zombie deer thing is a bit weird because typically with a CGI trailer, they show you things that to set the tone, give you hints of things that's in the game, maybe like gadgets or devices, anything. No zombie deer. I mean, will I, somehow find a way to sleep tonight? I'm sure I will. But zombie deer. I think the problem with zombie games is that you typically don't really have zombie wildlife. I don't know if there's like a technical reason for it, like Dying Light, Dead Island 2 Dying Light 2, Dying Light the Beast, there's no zombie animals. It's not really a thing, but maybe there are animals in the game that you have to hunt for food, and you wouldn't exactly be hunting zombie animals. So we don't know that, but like, I get the disappointment around it, but maybe that's something they could put in the future expansion or whatnot. But yeah, that's a weird one. But like the fake trailer stuff aside, I like what I'm hearing about this game. Expanded on the survival stuff for single player, because like Umber, right? When I'm put in a situation like State of Decay 1 and 2, and I was hyped for State of Decay 1 and 2, but I swear my attention span is basically the same as a walnut when I'm asked to micromanage things. So like, you show me a menu in any game and I have to look after several people and make sure they're fed, they've got the medicine and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm out. Right? It's like
me.
It's a lot.
I
The
can't
resources alone are enough, but people too.
Yeah,
a lot.
Like the reason why I like Dying Light, literally go from point A to point B, do some cool parkour, kill some zombies. That's it. That's literally Dying Light in a nutshell. But with like micromanagement, I'm just like, oh no, do I need to keep this person alive? And I get stressed, and I have to turn off the game because I'm too stressed. But maybe with this game that won't be the case. They said there was going to be a bigger emphasis on story, and honestly, I like what I'm hearing. Now the game is in alpha. I've seen a bunch of comments, not just on here, but just in general, that people still think this game's years out. We have had alphas out in the same year as the game's released before.
That's very true. Yes.
So Gears of War 4's alpha, that came out the same year as it released. I'm not saying State of Decay 4's 3's releasing this year, because it's already a packed year as it is, but I don't necessarily think it's that far out. I do think the lack of tethering thing is really cool, because, with a big open world game, you want to do your own thing, and hitting an invisible barrier or being warped back to like your other players, that could be a bit disconjointed. But if you can all do your own thing, like, that's going to be this like proper like Walking Dead style experience where you can't ask a friend for backup because they're miles away, which I think is really cool. The Unreal Engine 5 thing, like Umber said, that it doesn't do well with open world games. Like the only instance I can really think it does well, and that's Arc Raiders, but the maps aren't that big.
So can I ask a question here? Because you do play it, and I have yet to play it, believe it or not. I bought it. I just never got around to it. That's shame on me. But here's my question to you. If you take your experience with Arc Raiders, and it's quite a dense one, because you played it quite a bit and enjoyed very much, is it big enough, and would that equate to what you, in your mind, could say would be a sizable map for something like State of Decay 3, for a particular area that you were in to, try and build a settlement, try to save as many people, try to scavenge? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I would say yes if there were no vehicles. Like State of Decay having vehicles adds, it's just going to be bigger in general. Like the first main area you go to in State of Decay 2, that is basically bigger than the biggest Arc Raiders map. But on Arc Raiders, you're only on foot. There's no vehicles. That being said, there are rumors that the next Arc Raiders map is much bigger. And they have experimented with actually putting vehicles in Arc Raiders, this like hoverbike thing. But given how far Unreal Engines came, I'm optimistic, because I think like you play Arc Raiders, and it's beautiful graphics, 60 frames per second, incredible lighting, and it's flawless when you play. So if you can have something like that, and I know State of Decay isn't exactly going for like a more realistic look like Arc Raiders, I'm optimistic, but hopefully the game performs and looks great. But I'm looking forward to the game. It all sounds great, and as a solo player, it sounds like the experience is going to be really good. But I was just thinking about this before, and I think this. I know this isn't in the plans, and I know some people might not like this. And I say this is a single player gamer. wouldn't that world, the zombie world, wouldn't that make a lot of sense for an extraction mode?
I mean, yes. You know what? Here's another one that people are going to throw the virtual tomatoes, and I've been banging this drum for a while, and I'm not getting off the square. Isn't this world set up to have a single player, story driven, narrative focused part of the game? Meaning that it would show up and potentially be like some of Xbox's biggest first party franchise that we're going to talk about in the second topic, and that's Gears having a stout multiplayer and single player, right? Fable, well, that's going to be single player, but Halo has always launched with its multiplayer and its single player. And you can take something like Forza. Now, Forza doesn't have a story really that you can follow, but you can play that in a by yourself kind of way, right? Lock people out, just go do your thing. You can have just ghost cars of all your people that are in your friends list, or actually play online with your friends and potentially frenemies and race them. So, I mean, again, this is just me spitballing because you asked a question, so I'm going to follow up with it. I personally am hoping that there is a single player, narrative focused, character based part of State of Decay 3. Yes, I understand you got to make your character. You got to take that character, find other survivors, put the work together to make this base camp yours and protect everyone in there. But I would really love a single player aspect to this where there was a story that had a start, middle, and end. And then, of course, work your way into, or at least have on the second half of the game, a multiplayer mode. But I'll end it there.
Yeah. No, I by the way, I prefer single player games. I want to play State of Decay as a single player gamer. It just occurred to me there aren't any zombie extraction games.
No, they're not.
But
No.
look, I think State of Decay works fine as a single player game, and if they put the tools in place for more of a story, I think that would get a lot of people on board.
Yep.
And also, like the co-op elements, there's going to be a lot of people that play this in co-op, play with their friends, and I think the untethering of people is just going to make people play even longer. And also, these games get supported for a long time, so I think State of Decay devs they'll have some things up the sleeves.
I believe that they have not shown all of their cards. I think there's a lot that there is not being talked about because people are signing NDAs. Obviously, you're going to get to the alpha, and you will have to sign one. And please, folks, if you do get in, don't be an a-hole and break the NDA because you can get sued. And I'm sure that they wouldn't want to do that. But if you are applying to get into this and you get lucky enough to get in, sign the NDA, play the alpha, give your feedback, and sit on your hands until the beta, and then until the game releases. Let people be surprised. And I think you're right. I think there are a lot of cards left up their sleeves. I think that they feel confident to be where they are with an alpha, and that alpha has been going on for over a year. With again, we mentioned it in the beginning, they have a players' council that actually is really helping shape this game, and these are the ultra fans of this series, and I love to hear it. I love to hear that actually exists. But
that part on the narrative, though,
yeah,
that's the thing that would get me, right? Like, to Jamie's point, in your point as well, Booms, that I don't want to just run around. The same reason why I don't just play like multiplayer games all day is because I don't want to just be running around like shooting somebody and like, oh, okay. Like, I'm like one of those really serious thespian actors. What's my motivation? And if I don't have that, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to run around, keep shooting people all day. Like, for me, and I'm not knocking anybody who likes that, but for me, that doesn't do anything for me. I need to have clear motivation and reason for carrying on, because again, we have so many other games to get to, right? And I don't want to make it sound like a chore, but I can't be bothered to just stay in this one world shooting people over and over. For me, I don't care about my KD and all that. I don't care, right? Give me a solid story, make me understand why I'm fighting for what I'm fighting for in this world, and give me like, if they wanted to make it even better, give me let me fail here and there and it changes the ending, or if I do this I can save certain people, or some people might die. Give me real consequence, give me real reason, give me dialogue, give me something that makes me take this to
outside of your
another
own
level.
imagination, basically.
Exactly.
Is what you're saying. Yeah.
And I think that would have, to me, and I fear it won't have much of that, but I feel like that would have that could help elevate this game over the standard of what part 1 and 2 were. Give it something extra as far as that narrative to really drive home the point that you're making this much more than just like a resource managing zombie survival kind of game. But we'll see what they do.
Again, there's plenty of time before its release. It's not releasing this year. Thank God it's not releasing this year, because damn, there's a lot of games releasing this year outside of what Xbox is doing, and there's just not enough time in the freaking day. But gentlemen, chat, we got to get into what is the title of today's podcast. Microsoft is calling these 4 franchises, meaning Halo, Gears, Forza, Fable, the 4 Horsemen of Xbox Game Studios. And is it going to be the best release lineup ever? We're going to answer those questions. Now, where this all started is a tweet from Tom Warren of The Verge. And Tom, in my opinion, outside of being a very prominent member of the gaming community, is a pretty damn good writer, if you ask me. And I saw this tweet and, well, I wanted to make a topic out of it. Tom goes on to say, the 4 Horsemen, as Xbox calls them internally. Now, where this originated, outside of the tweet from Tom Warren, is from Stein, who's been very busy on the socials. And you got to love the new energy that man seems to have found. And, he's doing a couple of clapbacks. He's out here promoting the Xbox brand. Again, I just love it. Well, Stein put out a tweet of Tombstone, which is a very popular and excellent film. Anybody seen it? I've seen it a dozen times and it never gets old. And in the tweet, he has, the 4 main players from that film. And they're all walking in the street, and he has on their chests Gears, Forza, Halo, Fable. Okay. And that is just 2026. Now, granted, that's not everything in 2026, but it is probably one of the biggest and best first-party lineups, I want to say, in gaming history. I've challenged the chat before, and I will challenge you again. Pick any platform, any developer, any publisher in any year, and drop it into the chat so I can read aloud what you think might be a better group of games from a singular publisher in the history of gaming. I can't think of one. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people that go back to 2007, which is, considered one of the, if not still the best gaming year in the history of of gaming itself. You're talking about 4 Xbox pillars, Umbra, that I think logistically hold up the platform. And that is, again, Halo being first, Gears being second, Forza being third, and Fable being a fourth. And to be quite honest, any one of the 4 games that I just read aloud could be the starter. No doubt about it. If you are, I'll put it this way, the best way I can put it into words is this is going to be a ridiculous year. Because, of course, you got Modern Warfare 4, which is going to be probably in October or November, right? That's Infinity Ward. And from what we're reading from different posts on the socials, it's going to be a banger. They're going to deliver, just like they did with Black Ops 6 and Treyarch. Not last year's Call of Duty, the year before, which happens to be the best-selling in franchise history. Talking about Black Ops 6. Well, you also have a couple of smaller titles, right? You have Kiln releasing later this year, this month, and again, I think it's going to be a sleeper hit. A lot of people have played it. A lot of people really enjoy it. Is it going to sell Xbox consoles? Probably not. But I don't think Double Fine needs to do that. Double Fine needs to be the art house studio that we all know and love. And of course, last week, and this wasn't really talked about, but Minecraft Dungeons 2 is releasing this year. That's a really big one. But the whole point, Umbra, of this conversation is to talk about the quote four horsemen of Xbox game studios. And I have a tweet here from someone that I think has exploded on the scene and is very positive. Last Chalice is someone that you should follow, at least in my opinion. I follow them and I do like their work. And he posted something very simple. He has a picture of Gears, Forza, Halo, Fable. And he says 2026 is an Xbox 360 kid's dream. And I believe it is. Again, if you are a breadcrumb follower like I am, and I like to think of myself as a bit of a detective at times, I don't think anything happens for coincidence. I don't think anything in business is accidentally on purpose. And when you look, whether it was development time that held off these games from one year to another, or the plan of being able to say that in the 25th anniversary of Xbox game studios and the platform, you have their four biggest IPs releasing in the same year. I mean, it's insane that we're getting these four games. Umbra, I want to bring you in and get your thoughts on this, because I think Last Chalice really did nail the perfect point. 2026 is an Xbox 360 kid's dream. And when you look at the rest of the year, yes, GTA is going to be the greatest selling game. You know what? Hold on. Let me rephrase that. It is going to be the greatest selling IP or game in not only the franchise history, but I think pure entertainment as a whole. This is going to break every record that is standing, if you will. But that does not take away from the fact that Xbox has these four games. Now, if you're wondering about how we're going to segue into the comment from the chat member, we'll get there after Jamie speaks. I want to get his take on this. But Umbra, I want to get your thoughts on this. How lucky are we as gamers that we're getting these four games? And right now, we know at least some of them are going to be on other platforms, and maybe not as much as people want to keep pushing the envelope. I think something has changed, and that's where we're going to go in the second half of the program. But let me get your thoughts on this, man.
Yeah, I would say we're very lucky. I think when it comes to this, and that's what I was saying a minute ago when it says I spoke on a game sounding like a chore, like, oh, I got to get to this, I got to get to that. We just have an overabundance of goodness when it comes to gaming coming our way. Just being real, like we have to prioritize what we want to put our time into, right? And how to play all these different types of games. I know it's changed my style of way I would typically play games. I get into a game and I'm entrenched into it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's a big world open game, like a Crimson Desert, for instance. I'm 133 hours in that. I haven't gotten past chapter 4. So things like that are going to matter to me heavily. So Fable, for instance, if it's as what I expect it to be, which is, fairly semi-open world, large playtime, maybe in the 30 to 40 hour region, I'm going to likely squeeze 60 to 70 or 80 hours out of that, right? If it's that or more, depending, So as far as in terms of prioritizing what we can play, we have so much good stuff coming our way. I mean, third-party games, especially on top of this. So with that in mind, this being a 25th anniversary, you got Halo Campaign Evolved, my favorite franchise of all time. right? I still feel a way about it going to PlayStation, and only in the sense that I feel like you don't put the tent poles over there. But and I'm not trying to bring a negative to it, but I would say, these four are what should remain on the Xbox platform, if not just that in PC. And my thought would be keep the campaign here, maybe put the multiplayer suite over there, right? But that said, I mean, we got Halo campaign evolved, which I expect to be great. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be great. It's going to be unreal too. And we got Fable coming in the fall, and so I can't wait to jump back into Albion and really, like I said, dive into their world and see how it is. I want to see if they got the the one thing I mentioned as a negative when I talked about it on the fix, which was the somewhat feminine, as I called it, the sassy walk. And I know it lumped me immediately into these grifting morons online. They were like, "Oh, you one of them?" I'm like, no, I'm not. I just don't want to walk around like, "Hey, I'm here to, I'm here to solve your village's issues." I'm just saying, and all love to our LGBT brothers and sisters. I'm being funny, y'all. I'm being funny. But all of that said, Fable, I'm super excited for it. Dead serious. Gears of War E-Day. We get to go back and have our homies Marcus and Dom rather. So all these things are excellent. I cannot wait for that. And then of course, Forza is coming up in May? So yeah, I mean, that's just around the corner. And we get to finally go to Japan. We have, like I said, like you said, we are spoiled, and honestly, and the best part is if you're a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, you're getting all these without extra cost, right? I know I was going to say free, but I know somebody who got real mad at me one time. I said, well, I'm getting all this for free. They're like, you're not free, you're paid for. I'm like, okay, you get what I'm trying to say. Like, relax, pull your panties out of your butt crack. It's going to be all right. But we got all these things coming our way. You cannot, if you are a gamer, a true gamer, you should be very excited. I'm happy. I'm excited as hell. Boom, you talked about this before, just as an aside from that, this being the 25th anniversary, very likely with the, they got they announced the Fan Fest going worldwide. I'm hoping maybe they'll pull up something in New York and Chicago. They said they got a few more they might announce, so maybe they might come here. That in mind, we just might see something of next gen. Maybe they'll show us with the Project Helix, the silhouette or something like that during the June showcase, right? Who knows? We might get a chance to see all these different things. So all that in mind, I expect still more surprises this year, even aside from these four major heavies right here. Who knows what might be announced, what might shadow drop, whatever. But when it comes to these four, these are what the built Xbox as it was. Halo being the premier, obviously, Gears being second in that place. Forza now being the highest rated in this, typically consistently Forza Horizon. So, and we're getting the two gifts from Playground with that and Fable. So I'm super excited for that, man. I just like I said, the thing is we have to figure out is where do we get time to play all these different things, because we got this and much more coming this year. But yeah, you should be happy. You should. And I again, we talked about this before about how, I think this was the last week when we talked about this, and how now with Asha in charge, for me, I would say, and this is just as an aside, this right here, we can see this for the greatness it is. I would say we know how the media types get. We know how they tend to diminish the message for Xbox. This being the 25th anniversary, I would be particularly on their bumpers about how they present my stuff this year.
Yeah, it's a good point, dude. Great point.
If I'm here to try to turn things around like people are hoping Asha is doing, if I want to get away from this negative kind of framing that they typically do for Xbox, this being a 25th anniversary especially, I need you all to get in gear and be more positive on how you present these games. If the games turn out to be bad, okay, that's one thing. But the way you present it, and will this be like this, or will it be on PlayStation? Enough of that. And going back to that talk, Xbox needs to get their messaging in order when it comes to this. And when these games drop, get the marketing out there properly. You know what I mean? But I think other than that, like, yeah, we talk about Tombstone and all that, and I'm your Huckleberry. Absolutely, this is something we should all be very excited for. Absolutely. By the way, I just want to throw this out there as a little history. The old saying was, I'm your Huckle. It's not really I'm your Huckleberry, although he did say that. The technical term is supposed to be I'm your Hucklebearer. Somebody who holds your casket. That's what the Hucklebearer is.
Yes, that's correct.
But yeah, I just had to throw out that little knowledge that meant nothing. But yeah.
No, listen, it's I love factoids like that, man. I really do. I think they make a conversation fun, especially when you learn what a particular phrase actually means. I think it brings a lot more understanding to the conversation, and I'm glad you brought it up. But listen, Jamie, I want to bring you in. Let's talk Fable. Let's talk Gears, Halo, Forza, all releasing in 2026. When? That's the big question. How are they going to overlap? Well, we know that May is going to levy Forza Horizon 6, right? There is a gameplay trailer dropping tomorrow, from what I understand, and more than likely, we're going to be talking about it on Primetime Gaming because, yeah, we get a chance to actually see real gameplay, and that's they're advertising it, so that has me very excited. There is a rumor that Halo Campaign Evolved could drop in the summer. When? June, July, August, shadow drop at the Xbox Game Showcase. Who the heck knows? Obviously, that leaves Gears of War, and that leaves Fable. Where do you put those? Gears, maybe September, maybe October for Fable. Give them a month apart. Obviously, the world stopper known as Grand Theft Auto 6 is November 19th. At least that is the date, and I don't think it's going to be delayed. At least, well, you never know, but so far it looks like that's a locked-in date for, for Take-Two. But what a year for Xbox. And like I said, without any shadow drops or, unannounced releases, we got these 4 games coming out, and they are the pillars. This is the biggest year, I think, not only in Xbox first-party history. I would dare challenge, once again, the chat to find any publisher, developer year that you had 4 first-party games of this size, scope, and scale releasing. And here's the great part of this. They're all different genres to some extent. You're getting a first-person shooter in Halo. You're getting a third-person over-the-shoulder shooter with Gears. You're getting a arcade racer with Forza. And you are getting an action RPG from Fable. Wow, is all I can say. But I want to hear what you have to say, Jamie.
Yeah, I mean, this year's stacks. I think that, people that complain about video games, I don't think they actually play them. Like, this year's pretty amazing for video games. You have Crimson Desert out at the minute. That's taking the world by storm. Everyone loves it, other than journalists, but it doesn't hold the hand, so maybe that's why.
Could be.
But no, the Xbox has released this year, the stacks. I mean, look, they're going to have to be very intricate with how they release these games because, the big scary Grand Theft Autos in November. But this is how I think they're going to release the games. So I think that Gears of War is going to launch in October. Fable will launch in September. Minecraft Dungeons will launch in August. Call of Duty, November, early November. What else am I missing out on? I'm pretty sure I'm missing out. Halo, yeah. I think Halo is going to be like a July game. Because like if you Halo, so if you're Microsoft and you have like the big run up to holiday, they're going to be showing off these new games. Well, Campaign Evolved, we've all played a million times. It's just this time it's going to look pretty and it has Sprint in it, you know. So like I think that will be shortly after the summer showcase. But it's an absolutely stacked year. And then you also have the I know this is rumors, but Fallout 3. Like that's probably
Yeah,
going to drop in
man.
the summer as well because that was
Yep.
on the Todd McFarlane toy list. What a way to leak a game. But yeah, this year's absolutely stacked. I'll never understand people just complaining about there's nothing to play or like there's no games on Xbox. Like really, and then you have Kiln, which comes out this month, Forza next month. So like it's a bloody good month. My God, you have some absolute brain dead people in chat talking about how Xbox is dead. Like, come on.
Well, I
Like,
mean, again, I don't know how a publisher or a platform can be dead when they have as much going on for them, and ultimately have been feeding PlayStation games for what the good part of the last 2 years, when Sony themselves have not been able to put out many good first party games for that matter.
yeah. I mean, look, Xbox has this thing called a roadmap. I like roadmaps. I like to know what the first party companies are coming out with because, I'm a gamer. I like to know I'm going to be playing by these companies. But the audacity of some of these people to say like Xbox is dead. They are the only one. Look, why are people go to any look? I'm not calling out these people, but I'm calling out the situation. If you go to any PlayStation podcast, most of them, or PlayStation content creator, look at the thumbnails, look at the titles. It's all Xbox stuff, right? And yes, it's because they're releasing the games yet there. But at the end of the day, the best thing about Xbox at the minute is that there's actually stuff to talk about.
Yeah,
It's been that way for a
Right.
few years now. PlayStation
Yeah.
has been dry.
It's
Yeah.
like, granted, we could have a 2-hour podcast to talk about PSSR and Wolverine claws for 2 hours every week, But I mean, on Xbox, we have games to talk about. Them changing leadership, or something to talk about. But I mean, look, if Xbox is dead by releasing all these games, then okay, fair enough. But releasing a $900 console with no first party roadmap, okay, that's okay apparently. But having a long list of games, like that's ridiculous. I just don't get these trolls. But look, it's a stacked year. There's something for everyone. And as a single player gamer, I'm getting so many cool games.
Yep.
Right? Gears of War, it's been way too long. Way too long since the last Gears game. So the fact that we're getting Gears, Halo, Forza, Fable in the same year, as well as getting other games sprinkled on top, like, Killing, Minecraft Dungeons, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 4, and, a Pobble, Fallout 3 remaster. Yeah, pretty damn good year. And if you subscribe to Game Pass, you're going to get all that, not for free, but in your subscription. So, like, as a gamer, I'm a pretty happy chappy. And also, by the way, I just saw this in chat. I do think that Clockwork Revolution comes out this year.
Oh wow, that would be something.
Just because, like, the way they announced it with gameplay, and then we got like 5 minutes of gameplay last year.
Yep.
It wouldn't surprise me if that's like a late June release. That wouldn't surprise us. But either way, it's a stacked year, and that's not even including all the the Game Pass deals. Like I've been talking about this game a lot. Replaced, right? It's an indie game, 2.5D.
This month too.
Yes, 2.5D Cyberpunk game. It looks incredible. That comes out next week. So like if anyone's complaining about gaming at the minute, they either don't play games or they only play Fortnite. That's the truth. The funny thing is, I know I'm ranting a bit, but like the only people I hear say there's nothing to play and they complain about gaming. If you look at what they play and talk about, they post about 1 or 2 games a year, right?
Yes.
They might play Madden or FIFA. I still call it FIFA because I refuse to call it EA Sports FC 26. But like these people only play 1 or 2 games a year, and you have the audacity to say there's nothing to play. Play something else. Get out your comfort zone. Stop being boring. But anyway, that's just me.
Something
No, I mean,
noticed,
listen,
your point
great
there,
rant.
just to throw it out there. One thing I've noticed, and I've complained about this before to the fellas, like on GCP Discord. Things I hate is that people who are typically negative who are spreading FUD, who are complaining all the time about gaming. Those be the people who get like all these people going to view them and support them. You got positive, good people like all of us here, yourself, me, Boom. These people won't come and support us. I've heard people say they'll go and hate watch these people. And I'm
Yes.
like, for
Crazy.
what? Why would you want to listen to somebody you hate? What sense does that make? I say that just to go to your point of, these people complain about all gaming and they'll just, we got Fortnite. That's all I play. They don't even take advantage of the games we do get out here. So why is anyone even listening to them? Well, you have people like us who play a ton of games, and we can give you a much more robust opinion of things, much more fair opinion. Doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it really doesn't. And it does take away from why we're all here. And that is to talk about video games and enjoy playing video games. And I will say with full authority that the best tagline that I have seen so far is what Stein put out in a tweet, and that this lineup of games can be and should be considered the four horsemen of Xbox Game Studios. Now, obviously, there's a woman lead in Fable. Now, you can obviously pick male or female. And if you're asking yourself, well, why would you call it the Four Horsemen? Well, there's a game out called Darksiders. And we are going to get a chance to play 3 male characters. Oh, and P.S., by the way, 1 female character. So it's called, obviously, Darksiders. They are the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. And yes, one of the members is a woman. So that's, if you're wondering why I'm, capping for this, so to speak, is because, well, someone else did it before. So there you go. But look, gentlemen, I want to segue into something that was brought to my attention via Dark Zone very early in the podcast. So shout out to Dark Zone, who's always here. Dark Zone 2025, before they changed it, using the @ sign on Twitter and on YouTube, I should say.
Did that, by the way.
That's me too. I literally hate it. But Dark Zone said this, obviously commenting on the title of today's podcast, and that is Microsoft calling these 4 franchises the Four Horsemen of Xbox. And I asked the question, best release lineup ever. And he actually said something that was very interesting. I have it in front of me. He says, and they will all be on PC, PlayStation, and Switch too. All right. So I want to address that because I got some thoughts and I got some theories on exclusivity. Now, you can call me a bot. You can call me someone that caps for Xbox. I don't care. It's my favorite platform. Do I have a PlayStation 5? Absolutely. Do I buy games on it? Yes, I actually do. But in the lineup of how I play these home consoles, it would be Xbox first, Nintendo Switch 2 next, and on the bottom of the list would be PlayStation 5. I turn on that console twice a year by accident because I'm dusting, and the other 2 times is because I'm playing something. It does not get a lot of use because, quite frankly, their first-party games have been nothing short of non-existent. They don't make first-party games anymore. Yes, the last one I played for a lot of hours was Astrobot, and I loved every freaking second and cannot wait for them to come out with a sequel. But past that, there has not been much. Now, granted, Ghost of Yotai is a game that I want to play. I just have not had the time to get into. It was gifted to me by It's Me, the Broke Boy, and I'm always going to be grateful for that. But again, it's a particular game, but hasn't got me to turn on my PlayStation 5 to play. And there are reasons for that. Just not enough time in the day. But Dark Zone, like many people in this chat, continue to suggest, based on the former leadership, that all of these games were going to both Xbox, PC, and of course, PlayStation 5, and maybe even some aspects Nintendo Switch 2, Umbra. Well, I have to throw up the block hand here and say the only thing of the 4 games that we just mentioned that are confirmed to be launching is Halo Campaign Evolved. Now, we have heard, and I have heard, that Gears of War is going to be exclusive. Now, that's not a confirmed fact. I haven't talked to anybody inside Microsoft, but Dirk Griggity and the gang have been talking about this for a while. That's what he heard. So is it true? Well, we're going to find out this June when, obviously, at the showcase, there's going to be the Gears of War E-Day Developer Direct. They will tell us then. And I'm sure it's going to piss off some people, and it's going to get some of the other people excited. Now, you might be saying, well, Fable, boom, was announced. They literally said it's releasing day and date on PlayStation and on PC and Xbox. Well, we have a new leader at Xbox. Her name is Asha Sharma. And if I recall, one of her first statements was, the plan is the plan until it's not the plan. Right? Now, Forza is not day and date. Forza is releasing on Xbox on PC in May. It's been said that it was going to release in 2026. But what if the development team needs more time for it to be the perfect running version of Forza Horizon 6 on PlayStation 5 and Pro? Well, that would delay it until 27. Now, I'm saying that being a little facetious because that would be the excuse I would use if you wanted to make Xbox hardware return to being a priority for Microsoft. So where I'm going with this is here. We have a couple of reports, Umbra, that Microsoft has moved development of Xbox Series X and S to Vietnam. That was a story from a couple of months ago. Why that's important is because the rumored number of additional consoles they want to develop for release this year is 5 million. And why? In anticipation of Grand Theft Auto 6. Now, we know that, or at least we think, and we're pretty sure of it, that PlayStation has the marketing rights for that game locked up. Well, here's a couple of points of contention, and I'm going to hand you over the mic. And again, this is the context, folks. We know that the new leadership wants to put an emphasis on Xbox hardware. Well, next generation is not happening until 2027. Holiday at best, right? They still have an Xbox Series X and S console. They also have 2 handhelds. Well, if you want to put a priority on your hardware and make it viable, well, the first thing you got to do is make it cheaper than PlayStation 5. They just had a price increase. If they could figure out a way, even if it's to take loss, and I don't have a business degree, but if you are serious about people buying your hardware, especially when a game like Grand Theft Auto is coming out and is next gen only, meaning that you can play it on PC, of course. Well, no, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. You can't play it on PC. That game will release a year from now on PC, like they always do. But where you can play this game is on a PS5, PS5 Pro, an Xbox Series S, and an Xbox Series X. Now, we all know, without being facetious or console worry, that PlayStation 5 is probably going to be the most selling of that game, right? That's not even a suggestion. That's probably what's going to happen. But you also got to remember, we're still in 2026 and everything's damn expensive, right? So if PlayStation just raised the price of all of their hardware, including their streaming thing, would it be in the best interest of Xbox to release or at least bring down the Series S to $300 and maybe entice people where you have different pilot programs where you launch you relaunched the Series S, so to speak, and X, you pack a game in it. What could you do for that? Well, Forza Horizon 6 is coming out. Hey, you want to get in, you want to play Forza Horizon 6? Here's a $300 console. And what you do is you get the converts, people that are on Xbox One hardware and PS4 hardware, to look and say, well, wait a second, Grand Theft Auto is playable on this console, and I really can't afford a $600 PS5, and I really can't afford, a PS5 Pro, certainly, because again, almost 900 if you include a stand and the disc drive, because a lot of these players that you're trying to get into next gen still buy disc-based games. That's an absolute fact. They're not on the train of digital. They finish a game, they go to GameStop, they trade it in, and they use that credit towards a new game. And that's why they're on old hardware. Well, they're all going to be jazzed to go out and want to play Grand Theft Auto 6. And there are only two platforms you can do that. And that, of course, is Xbox and PlayStation. Umbra, I actually think Asha has an opportunity here to not only reinvigorate the fan base itself, and I know this is walking the line of console war, but exclusives matter. I don't care what anyone says. They will always matter. And specifically in this particular situation, it matters most because you're getting PS4 and Xbox One players to upgrade to next gen. If you have a $300 Series S and a $500 Series X, and you pack in a game, meaning first party, this will get them into the ecosystem in anticipation for Grand Theft Auto 6, and Xbox wins then. Now, are they still going to be the best-selling console of all time? No. Are they going to sell as many as PlayStation 5? No. But you have an opportunity to use a cheaper entry point into next gen that's not PC, banger games, and at the end of the year, Grand Theft Auto 6, I actually think that if you put the development dollars into marketing, you could use the power of Halo, Gears, Forza, Fable to roll into Grand Theft Auto. What are your thoughts on my plan?
So the thought would be for them to lower the price to 500 for the Series X, you say, right?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I would be for it. It seems crazy that we even having that type of discussion because typically the consoles go down in price. But yeah, that could be something. I don't know if the problem is that we are in such a bad place economically all around the world that I don't even know if that's something that people will be like, oh yeah, that's worth me getting that right now, because like people have so much more things in their daily lives that they have to put their money toward trying to survive now. Like that's the biggest issue here. That's the biggest hurdle. I mean, if anything, they could probably price down the Series S, right? And that would be a way for people to get in and do everything you said anyway. Did you mention something about cloud for Grand Theft Auto?
No, I actually did not mention cloud, but I would imagine that, again, this has been speculation for quite a while. Will it be, and could it be, a Play Anywhere title? Oh, I don't know, man. That one is a really kind of flip of the coin thing. If I'm going on Xbox side of things, of course they would want that. But on the 2K side of things, and they want maximum profit,
they're not going.
I don't know if they would agree to that.
They wouldn't. I mean, the only way that could happen is if Microsoft drops off a monumental bag. That's really it. Because
if you were serious about if I may, if you were serious, Umbra, about reinvigorating the hardware and getting people to buy into your ecosystem,
that would be the way to do it.
That would be the way. Great 100%. Points of view.
Yeah, that would be the way to do it. I mean, again, that goes back to what I was saying, is how serious are they on trying to say, no, we're dedicated, we want to bring people around, versus how much can they invest toward doing something like that with one game versus everything else they need to get out, right? Other games they could be developing. Is Grand Theft Auto the end all be all for that? I don't know, right? But that would be major if you say, hey, you can get this as a play anywhere title, meaning you can play it here, your handheld, and on PC, a standard PC. Yeah, that would be massive. It would make Xbox the de facto place to play, all right, as far as Grand Theft Auto goes. So yeah, I mean, and hell, so that would be massive if that could happen. Help if that could happen. I wonder though if they would lower the price. Doesn't seem likely, seeing how they raised the price not that long ago. It would make sense to have some type of holiday sale. Maybe they could do. I don't know what they might do. The whole thought of bundling games. Obviously, we have Game Pass, so that kind of takes out the need of bundling anything now. You can just bundle in 3 months of Game Pass or 6 months or something like that if you really want to be generous, if you're Microsoft. And hey, here's all the games anyway, right? So
true, very true.
Yeah. So pricing is the biggest thing. That's the biggest hurdle. If they could drop the price down for both the Series X and S, and they can say, hey, for I don't know, Black Friday, we'll have or something like that, Black Friday or something. I don't know. Holiday sale. We were dropping the price of the X and S by 100 or 200, and like get it, limited supplies, whatever. If they could do that, yeah, that would help a lot. I would imagine. I think that could help. People jump into the next gen. I'm surprised still by how many are still on last gen consoles.
Millions upon millions upon millions.
Yeah,
dude.
Surprisingly. But the reason why that happens is, one, people kind of get complacent with the typical, Maddens and the Fortnites, and they don't see a need to update to anything. Plus the pricing. So if the pricing was right, and I don't, no pun intended, but if the price was right, they could probably see them. I could see them maybe jumping into something like that. So yeah, to that point, if that could happen, for sure, I would still say. And maybe that Microsoft could do this. You already heard my thought, and this is just me kind of, just shooting out some ideas. One of my thoughts, as you remember, Boom, was maybe them having some type of layaway plan, if you will, for next gen, or financing, if you want to be nice about how you word it, the financing plan, so it doesn't sound like layaway for the poors, right? But if they had something like that, maybe they could also have something like that for this current gen. They've already hit the all access, we know about it. If they want us to go further with that, start it now. Start it before Grand Theft Auto drops, and have this where you can still charge the same price you will for your Xbox, but people can pay into owning it, or the S, until they own it. Do the same thing. Start it in, the June showcase or something. I don't know, a little before that, so people can be ready for the fall, and have people buy this thing out through that. Take their time making installment payments. And, if you're going to charge a little interest or whatever you're going to do, however they do what they do, fine. If people know what they're signing up for, fair little pricing and things like that could go a long way. Start that with this, continue it into next gen. Next gen is going to have to have something to pull people over, unless they're just like, skip it. We're premium Apple. You're going to pay for what you get here, right? Or premium Samsung, which I am part of with the S26 Ultra. So I know what I'm getting there. I know I have to pay a premium. It is what it is. There is no easy way around it. The problem is the more casual gamers are not going to do that. They're not going to pay upwards of $1,200 or more for next gen consoles, which looks to be what we might be headed toward. So get ahead of it now. Do it for, if I would have any say, and if they could get this right, put out something where they can finance these consoles right now, and in advance of Grand Theft Auto, or even of Halo Campaign Evolved, and Fable and all these. And by the time they can do it, announce it at June and the June showcase, whatever, and say, hey, you can pay down on this. You can, get 3 months of Game Pass with this deal or something. I don't know. And you'll be able to play all these games, including Grand Theft Auto, when it drops in the fall or whatever, blah, 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 whatever. I think that would, and I know it sounds kind of far fetched just because it hasn't been done yet. Exactly, but I feel like something like that could help. And I'm only saying that because I think a lot of people get the mindset of, oh, I can afford it, so everybody else can afford it. No, not everyone can do what we do.
Yeah, that's a misconception with a lot of people, especially when it comes to, you have and you expect others to have. That's not always the case.
Yeah, and to your question, what's his pragmatic? He asks, what makes a gamer casual? I think it's kind of tough at times because you got some casual gamers that'll play just one game. That used to be the thought, like, oh, they just play this one game. They don't play a wide swath of games. But some people play one game for thousands of hours. I don't think that's real casual. So I don't know. I think those that are more casual don't put a ton of time into gaming like we typically do. Even if they're playing one game and they only put like maybe 30 hours, I would say they're pretty casual. But if they're playing multiples of games or even one game, thousands of hours dedicated, I would say you're pretty hardcore, right?
Yeah.
But that's just as an aside. But that's my thinking, man. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I'm just kind of spitballing here on what I feel they could probably do. I don't know if that would even work. I just don't really have the answers for this. Financing seems to be the smartest play to me, just because of the current climate that we're in, financially around the world, economically. You're right. So that's my thinking. And again, take that from this and move it into next gen, and because it's going to be even pricier at that point. So I don't know. But if they could manage to do some, play anywhere thing, if they can go that route and wanted to divert that money over to that, it's going to be a pretty penny. I would imagine in the billion, toward the billion, if not at a billion, to pull something like that off. Knowing how Rockstar and Take Two would be expecting a crazy return in general. So, but would Microsoft do it? I don't know. I mean, they have the money. I just don't know if they would do
certainly do. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, listen, great points all around. And again, no, we don't have the answers. This is why we're having this conversation. But Jamie Moran, I want to bring you in. Look, we've heard terminology of Xbox returning to the era of 360, the Attitude Era, right? Did a video that popped off really well regarding that. Just based on some of the, happenings since Asha took over in late February, it seems like there's a different shift in mindset, right? I mean, again, we're not making this up, folks. It's just what's happening. You can feel it. The energy is different. Now, is it different enough to suggest that Xbox is going to go on a full marketing blitz to fix how terrible their messaging and marketing was? Well, I'd like to hope so. I said earlier in the conversation, packing the game. And I actually didn't really take into account, they didn't have to do that, because what they could do is throw a game character on the box like they used to during the Xbox 360 days, meaning that if they were going to do a Halo campaign, throw Master Chief on the box, and next to him included 1 month, 2 month, 3 months Xbox Game Pass. That gets you the game that they're trying to sell, right? You're trying to bring in new customers or have older customers upgrade from an Xbox One or 1X or 1S to the Xbox Series X or S. Also, it would be potentially trying to get someone that's on a PS4 that doesn't have a massive digital library, or again, if they're the casual audience, they probably don't. You might want to try and get them into next gen, and how you can do that is by bringing back that old, the feels, as the kids like to say, because a lot of the PlayStation 4 casuals were Xbox 360 players, but converted over to PlayStation 4 during the dreaded 2013 year, where Xbox executives who are no longer even in the business said some pretty egregious things and put TV in front of gaming, right? We all know who Donnie D is and how he basically almost ruined Xbox. But the truth of the matter is that if you have an affordable console like a Series S that is certainly better than an Xbox One X or S, or even a PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 4 Pro, and you get them in the door by showing them older games that they might have played. That's an opportunity. And this whole conversation sparks back to exclusivity. I still think there is room to not release Fable, Gears, and Forza on PlayStation this year if you are trying to make your hardware and your platform a priority. And that's something that they have failed at. They literally did the "this is an Xbox" thing, and it made people less likely to buy the hardware. They put games here, there, and everywhere. And what did it do? It hurt hardware sales to the point where at every quarter, they were 30+% lower than the quarter before, to the point where I'm sure that it was panic driven, some of the moves that they made. Now, I'm not suggesting that they should invoke console war rhetoric, but what they could do is if you're going to take Grand Theft Auto as your base, and they know that game is going to move people from old hardware to new hardware. Right? That's not even a suggestion. That is what is going to happen. When that happens, if you could present the case to these new customers, doesn't matter what platform they're coming from. It matters what platform they now are going to invest in. And if you can bring in a $300 Series S, a $500 Series X, and pack in Game Pass, and during the month that the game is coming out, meaning Halo, Gears, Forza, and Fable, and you do a actual thought-provoking marketing campaign that will let people get these boxes on the shelves with these characters, you might get someone to pass by and say, man, I really want that Grand Theft Auto 6, but I can't afford a $600 or a $900 PS5. I'm going to go with Xbox because look, this $300 console can play Grand Theft Auto, and I'm getting Game Pass. I'm getting Halo. Oh, I remember playing Halo. Oh, my God, there's a new Gears of War. I remember that during the 360 days. My God, that was amazing. That is what they can invoke. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, where to start? The whole pricing thing, they need to bring prices down. Hardware and game services. They need to bring down Game Pass, right? It shouldn't be cost as much as it is. The consoles should not be going up. I hate the fact that I'm going to sound like an old fart saying this, but back in my day, consoles went down in price. Like, what a weird thing to say, right? The fact that here we are in 2026, and a mid-gen refresh is costing $900. Like, why? Why are we doing this? I know why. I know why, but come on, this is ridiculous. Prices should never go up for anything, and for everything. I want the prices to come down, right? I still think video games should cost $50.
You're not wrong for that, sir.
Not a penny more, because in the UK we get screwed over with price. So if the lower the dollar, the lower the pound. But they need to bring all the prices down. This isn't working, right? You can't grow any piece of hardware significantly. We've been talking about next generation consoles for the longest time now, and people are trying to cope with it and just deal with the fact that next gen could cost $1,000. I'm sorry, but that's stupid, right? At that point, you might as well get a fancy ass PC with neon lights in it, because that way you're going to have backwards compatibility going back to Zork, right? But now we talked about $1,000 consoles. That is absurd. That's absurd. And just think about this, right? I'll just use Xbox as a reference, right? Xbox One, $500. Xbox One X, $500. Xbox Series X, $500. Next gen Xbox, $1,000. I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. That is stupid, right? I don't care if RAM is through the roof during the RAM apocalypse. Sort it out, right? It's not my problem, because the whole point of a console, it's consumer electronics, right? It's less consumer friendly if you're pricing people out of the market. They're pricing people out of gaming. All these companies, right? Graphics cards, game services. You have companies wanting to charge $80 for video games. Less people buy games at launch because of the $70 price, right? I'll give an example. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, incredible game, right? And that is, by the way, that game basically convinced EA to start making single player games again. So then you have Jedi Survivor come out. It's an even better game, sold less. Why? Because it was $70, right? I will die on this hill, right? They need to bring down the prices of games, hardware, services. Then that'll sort things out. And people keep bringing up the whole marketing deal with like Grand Theft Auto. Like Grand Theft Auto, we don't know what the marketing deal is going to be like, right? It could be something like, hey, we have an exclusive skin, all that type of stuff. If you take two, right, and this game's costing so much, you want everyone on every platform to buy that bloody game, right? Yep. So I don't think the marketing is going to be as strict as people think, right? So I think, you'll have, hey, get this fancy skin or whatever in Grand Theft Auto Online too. But then people will still know it's on Xbox. And then you also have to think that the consoles at this price, you still have people stuck on last gen. And despite people having this big problem with me every time I mention it, it's still true. The Xbox Series S is going to be the most affordable way to play GTA at launch. Like, people can say it's going to look terrible or run terrible. Last time I checked, Rockstar Games don't release crap ports of their new games.
Correct.
Right? So, like, there's that sorted. And the exclusivity thing, right? I've seen this weird back and forth over the past couple of weeks, and I've just been biding my time because now I can say it. The same people that say that Microsoft can't do exclusives again are the same people that go online every single day and say that Sony are pulling out of the PC space.
That is absolutely correct, sir.
So why can one company stop doing it, but the other can't? It makes no sense, right? Pick one, So, like, Microsoft, they could start doing exclusives again. And look, marketing is everything. And I think when it comes to Microsoft, look, if you buy an Xbox Series X or S, right, fancy looking console, looks nice, right? I think they have to put the games at the forefront. I was talking about this last week. The second they start putting games on other platforms, the conversation stopped being about the games. Right? Nobody was talking about these latest Starfield features, how you can have seamless flying in between planets, or any of the cool new features. People are talking about PlayStation 5. Nobody's talking about the game, right? The same thing has happened with every single Xbox game that's came out on PlayStation. Nobody's talking about the game, right? They're talking about the PlayStation 5 version. Every day on Twitter, I post about upcoming games via screenshots, trailers, or GIFs. Every time I post about a first-party Xbox title, look at the replies. There's at least one person that goes, I can't wait to play this on PlayStation 5. Yet they won't write this on third-party games I post about. You know why? It's an optics thing. They do this on purpose, right? So, like, I say that Microsoft kind of needs to do exclusives again. One, for my benefit, because I'm sick of people just talking about boxes instead of the games themselves. And two, they need to actually get people to buy Xboxes in bulk, because that's how businesses work, right? I don't understand how people, and I see people in chat obviously talking about how, like, like them pulling the games off PlayStation is a bad thing, but these same people won't go out there and say, hey, Sony needs to put, I don't know, God of War on Xbox and Switch, right? So, like, Xbox has to be the good guy, the super good guy in the business space, but nobody else has to do anything.
I mean, you can call it the Xbox tax, you can call it the Uno reverse card, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what terminology you use. It does seem that one can do, the other can't.
Yeah, and like, look, I think it's cool that more people get to play more games if they're on more platforms. Cool beans, that's nice. But at the end of the day, we talked about how Xbox can improve their, user base, grow bigger, do better. And these same people that say, by the way, I want Xbox to do better, they really don't. They really don't, because they never mention the things we're talking about right now, right?
Yep.
Ideally, this is what you do if you're Microsoft. lower the price of your hardware. It doesn't have to be by hundreds, just lower the price. Lower the price of Xbox Series X and S, lower the price of Game Pass, right? Because raising it, the last time they raised the price was, as we saw, very big issue. You know, do not go up to $80 with games. In fact, bring them back down to 60, right? Actually say on the box, this has been my biggest gripe for about 6 years, by the way. The fact that the Xbox Series X box it comes in, it doesn't say anything about backwards compatibility, right? It doesn't say, hey, this massive library of 360 games you had, you can play a bunch of them here with upgrades. Doesn't say anything like that. Put game characters on the box again. I don't.
Yes.
Look, I know I'm buying a console. I'm not buying a high-tech piece of kit that I'm meant to be, impressing the ladies with, right? I don't care. It's a games console. Let it play games. It's for games. So, like, they have to get the marketing thing out the way. The exclusives thing. Look, I've said for years, like, if they make a Killer Instinct 2 type thing, make that multi-platform, because fighting games live and die by the player base, right? I don't think they should pull out from doing multi-platform altogether. I think they could still do some titles, your Kilns, your Minecraft Dungeons, obviously Call of Duty, but like when it comes to Gears of War, AD and Fable and the big ones, right? Those ones should be only on Xbox at least for a couple of years, right? Maybe put remasters on other platforms, but like, and even the little PlayStation fanboys you have in chat right now, they have to even acknowledge this, right? The conversation has moved away from being games, right? Whenever we talk about Fable or this new Starfield expansion or anything, they aren't talking about the games or expansions themselves. They're talking about the platform, right? Hey, I'm buying this on PlayStation. You're not talking about the features. You're not talking about the characters. You're not talking about the cool new worlds, cities, any of that. And I think that's why they have to move away from, the multi-platform strategy, because nobody's talking about the games. And that's Xbox's biggest strong suit at the minute. Games. They have a ton of them in development. And if you have people talking about the games, they have to buy the platform. So that's how they could solve that. Now, we don't know what Asha Sharma is going to do, but I like what she's doing so far. So far, the things they're doing is steps in the right direction. Having a big, Xbox Summer showcase with, 7 different cities for FanFest. That's a big move, especially after them not doing one last year.
Yep.
I like what they're doing so far, but look, there's obviously people that are not going to like what I'm saying, but from a business standpoint, if you want Xbox to grow, you can't expect them to magically start growing, significantly if they're putting, Gears of War on alternate platforms. That's just the reality of the situation. And I'm saying that as an Xbox guy. I say that as an Xbox content creator. I want Xbox to thrive. And the last time all 3 companies were thriving at the exact same time, everyone won, right? Back in the 7th gen, everyone won in the end. And wouldn't it be cool if that was the case again, where nobody was talking about how, hey, this company's failing. Microsoft, this $1 trillion company, they have to reassure their fan base every 5 seconds that they're making a next-gen console. So we talk about next-gen consoles every day for 3 years before the console comes out. We've never had to do that in the past, but we have to, because, people are saying our Xbox is dead. But hey, I could be wrong.
No, I mean, look, you guys had great points. I see the chat, and again, I'm not going to read anything because we're getting ready to get on out of here. It's been a long show. I wanted to add this extra topic because I think that it's important. You're not going to move me off the square that exclusives are important. And when you have bangers like Xbox has this year, and you want to reinvigorate people buying your hardware, and not only this hardware, potentially next generation hardware, you got to hold the best stuff for yourself. And if there are ponies in the chat, well, they're probably not here for much longer, because usually they get banned immediately for being stupid. But if you are someone that loves Xbox and wants to see Xbox return to the old ways, exclusivity at some point has to be a part of the conversation. I see you guys talking about it. Well, it's great that everyone's playing games everywhere. You know, that's great if we all lived in Rainbow Land. But this is business. And right now, Microsoft has a host of problems of making their platform relevant, right? It's third place. And some people would say fourth if you consider PC a platform, right? If that's the case, it'd be PC, PlayStation, Nintendo, and then Xbox. How do you bring people back to the box, back to your ecosystem? Well, listen, obviously hardware, and they have some pretty good hardware this gen. And I don't care what anyone tells you about the Series S being, the console that held back the generation. I mean, for crying out loud, the Resident Evil 9 is running on a Nintendo Switch 2 and looks damn good because I have it. So if it could run there, it could run on a Series S. So I don't want to hear that. But what I will say is that they need to get people, and again, I'm going to sound like I'm like repeating myself or beating the drum over and over and over. And that's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to say is there is a game coming out later this year that's only going to be available on 2 platforms, Xbox and PlayStation. PlayStation just raised the price of all of their hardware. Microsoft has an opportunity on 2 tiers, and then we'll get on out of here. The first tier being that they could make their current gen hardware cheaper than PlayStation. How they get there, I don't have any idea. I don't have a business degree, but they can figure it out, right? But on the back end or the flip side of that coin, they have first-party games that are leaps and bounds better on every angle than PlayStation. And if you have, listen, let me add some additional context, just for shits and giggles. I have an overview in front of me that will tell you how many people are currently playing on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro hardware. Check this out. As early as 2026, the PlayStation Network holds 132 million active users, and despite the dominance of the PlayStation 5, a significant, though declining, portion of that base still uses the PlayStation 4. You want to know what that number is, folks? For shits and giggles, 49 million players of the 132 million active users monthly on PlayStation are PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro users. 49 million. You don't think a majority of those PlayStation users that are considered casual or normies are going to want to upgrade so they can play Grand Theft Auto 6? And is there an opportunity for Xbox to have cheaper hardware, or for Xbox Game Pass and start doing marketing like they did back in the 360 to potentially grab some of those users that might have been Xbox 360 users? You're damn right they do. And if anyone from Xbox is listening, and I checked any boxes that you're paying a lot of these 6-figure latte drinking folks over in Seattle to do, you can. My LinkedIn is always open, so give me a ring because I have $1 million ideas left, right, and center. And I think this is one of them where they could bring back people to the Xbox. They could do it in a way by using cheaper hardware to get them in the door for not only their own first-party games, but one of the biggest games coming out in any generation of any year, and that's Grand Theft Auto 6. And that's not releasing till the end of the year, so you have an opportunity starting with Forza Horizon 6, which we know a lot of players on PlayStation 5 really enjoyed outside of the 40+ million that played over on PC and Xbox. That game has seen over 50 million players since its launch. You have a new one releasing in Japan. Use that to your advantage. Cheapen your hardware, lower the price, and put in a Xbox Game Pass bundle card, whether that's 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months, and you put the game on the freaking box, spend some of that advertising dollars, and you will get people to come back to the platform. I'm going to end it there. Let me catch up
Start
with
making raps and stuff like what happened to the raps? What
the raps.
Xbox raps. Yeah.
I don't know.
Raps for those games and all these other games you got coming out. They could do all types of stuff.
Listen, whoever was running the marketing wasn't doing a good job. It's just that simple. I'm not calling anybody out because I don't know who their whole marketing team was. It could be one person or 1,000. What I can tell you is that what they were doing was not working, and they have to figure it out. And I think I gave a pretty damn good way to do that. But let me catch up on the 5 super chats we got here, and then we'll get you guys out of here. Starfield Guy drops a very generous $5 super chat. It says, just started a new game on Starfield, also playing Crimson Desert, while also playing Ark and 3 other Game Pass games. Gaming is incredible right now. Yeah, I just started to download. I had to update my Starfield. I want to jump right back into it. I cannot wait to play the Terran Armada and see what that's about. It's Me, the Broke Boy, drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, still early, PlayStation Store Starfield, 386 reviews, 4.69 out of 5 rating. South of Midnight, 725 reviews, 4.86 rating out of 5. Like players are different than fanboys in games. Yeah, I mean, listen, there's no doubt about it. I mean, listen, there are console warriors, and there are gamers that like, their platform of choice. Nothing wrong with that. And then, of course, they're just casual gamers that want to play a good game. And wherever they're playing, well, they're going to play until you give them a reason to move to a different platform because of a specific game. See what I did there? Eternal Shaddai has been a channel member for 4 months. Thank you so much for that generosity, brother. He says, if Microsoft releases all 4 pillar games this year, they can have Gears of War E-Day bundled up with Xbox Series S and lower the Series X by $100. That would be crazy. Yeah, and it would also get people to buy because maybe Halo sparks something with someone, Eternal Shaddai, or maybe it's Forza. But there's one thing that will guarantee any Xbox 360 user from back in the days will spark them is a new Gears of War that is focused not on the kids, but on Marcus and Dom. You're going to get people in their fields and run out of their homes to go get themselves an Xbox if they're not going to play on PC. I'm telling you, there's ways to do it. But It's Me, the Broke Boy, drops an additional very generous $5 super chat. He says it's not like they have removed platform logos from games before after they were announced. Black Myth, Wukong, Stellar Blade, ring a bell. Yes, and see, that's what I'm talking about. If a third-party developer can be money-hatted by PlayStation to remove a logo, Microsoft can be like, you know what? We're going to give our teams more time to make these PlayStation versions better. When are they coming out? We don't know. That's how they can do. You want to be a politically correct company, or you want to be an asshole? Because if it's me, I'm the asshole in the room now, and I'm going to say, well, what we're going to do is you can play Gears of War E-Day on PC, on your handheld, and of course Xbox Series S and S consoles. It's not releasing for PC. It is an exclusive for Xbox. When is it coming? You want to play it, and you just repeat yourself until they bang their head into the wall and knock themselves unconscious. The same media types that we always talk about, the Ryan McCaffreys running to the front of the line with the microphone. Hey, I bought a PlayStation 5 Pro to play. Well, you're an Xbox guy. Go play it on your Xbox or go play it on your rig. But you're not going to play it on PlayStation. That's it. And the effing story. But that's just me. And maybe that's being console worry. So what? It is what it is. Hope that answers the question there. It's Me, the Broke Boy. And thank you for the additional generosity. We have Judah Ross drops a very generous $5 super chat. He says for 25th anniversary, they should make a console with a game on each side Also, make the put wraps on the Xbox Design Labs. Yeah, dude, they need to do all of that.
Oh wow, Judah stole my thought process. Yeah,
that's a really good one. Throw it. Again, I don't know about you. I had about 15 of the faceplates for the Xbox 360 because whenever I was playing a game, the controller. I'm a nerd like that. I don't care. You can make fun of me all you want. I would have the matching faceplate with the controller for the game I was playing because I like that kind of shit. I don't know what to tell you. Nino Vestic has gifted 1 double-barrel gaming membership as he's done so many times. Brother, that's very kind of you. Thank you so much for the continued support. Aloha to you and the family. But, Umbra, let's get you out of here. Brother, you got to get to sleep. I know you're exhausted. Sell the brand of the fix. Thursday evenings, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with yourself, Daniel J. McGee, and Crusader. And I would imagine that you guys have a lot to talk about this week. There's been so much news. Talk about it, brother. Where can people not only follow you on the socials, but subscribe to the YouTube channel?
Indeed. I have not quite ironed out what we'll speak about, but I'll have something figured out by Thursday. Obviously, we have the Triple I initiative that will be dropping Thursday, if you all are not aware. Last year's was pretty good, and this one seems to be following in the same vein. There are, if you all are not aware of it, it's an independent, how do I describe it? It's an independent showcase for video games, and they already have a few games announced that they will be showcasing, which is like Castlevania, Belmont's Curse, Far West, Risk of Rain 2, Dead as Disco, which I've played a demo for that. So they got a bunch of good games that you all would probably be very interested in. Don't let the little titles fool you and think you won't like it. You might, more than likely will. If you like playing a bunch of different types of games. So they look to have at least 30 or so games that they'll be showcasing. So we'll be talking about that, watching that and showcasing that and talking about that. Obviously, any relevant news as far as entertainment and things like that goes, which is a few things that popped up recently, including Mario, Super Mario Galaxy, whatever the name of that movie is, breaking some sort of record and doing pretty well, even though I've heard it was terrible from some, but I've heard it was great.
I saw it with my nephew. We were smiling from ear to ear, and I'm taking him again. It was
there you go,
and freaking tastic.
So I'm hearing some people say they didn't like it. Most people seem to love it. That's what I'll say. But yeah, things like that and any relevant other gaming news and such we'll be discussing. So yeah, come by. Of course, to find me, Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite on Twitter and Blue Sky. And put the link in the chat and I'll post it again. If you all have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. We have a good show. We just have fun on Thursdays and a lot of good thought process and things like that. We would appreciate you guys coming back by and supporting. We are pretty close to 2,000 subs. We probably should have been there a long time back. So
you absolutely should have. You have a great show, dude. I love it.
Thank you, brother. If you all haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Help us out with that. We'd appreciate it. And even if you can't watch us live, because there are a lot of people live Thursday, I get it. If you can come by later, drop a like and maybe a chat and a comment in the chat section, that would be perfect. So however you decide to do what you do, I know some of you do already, so thank you all that do. And that's really it for me. Thank you all for being here, holding us down, and Boom, of course, for hosting and holding us down.
Well, appreciate you being here as always, man. Again, a lot of really big conversation today. Hopefully you enjoyed enough to hit the like button, potentially subscribe, because we are under 250 away from 17K, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. So we should hopefully have it by the June showcase, and that would be really celebratory for us because, again, this is a small channel. We are doing it the mom and pop way, right? And we have some partnerships that we're going to be announcing in the coming months, which I am very excited about. And people are recognizing the channel, and that's thanks to, well, you find folks in the chat for subscribing and sharing on the socials and talking about it, really. But Jamie Moran, let's talk about the All Xbox podcast tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with you and Logan Meyer. Cannot wait to hear the one of potentially 12 to 17 topics. And I would imagine you're going to talk about State of Decay, Blade potentially showing up at, of course, the Xbox game showcase. Plus, Mass Effect is going to work its way in there. Starfield just had its big update. I would imagine you are ready to rock and roll. Sell the brand, brother. where can people subscribe to the Elusive Gaming channel on YouTube, but more importantly, follow you on social media?
Yeah, thanks, Boom. It's always a pleasure. So, yeah, All Things Xbox podcast is on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern on the Elusive Gamer YouTube channel. I exclusively cover Xbox and Mass Effect at every given opportunity. We have around 12 topics tonight. We're going to be talking about the State of Decay 2 stuff, State of Decay 3 stuff, the Blade stuff, and also I'm probably going to pop off about the Mass Effect TV show.
I saw what you posted, and my God, I'm nervous for that series now. I am.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to have a nervous breakdown at some point over a TV show. That doesn't really matter. But yeah, that's going to be a fun show tonight. And, you know, considering it's a weekly thing that I just have, it's just an absolute rage about the lack of Splinter Cell existing. But yeah, that's a weekly thing at this point. But yeah, it's 6 p.m. Eastern on the Elusive Gamer YouTube channel. I also do Twitter, which is Jamie Man UK, and that's exclusively gaming and jokes.
Well, gentlemen and chat, thank you so much for entertaining us, and us hopefully entertained you enough to hit the like button, subscribe, and potentially share this out on the socials. Of course, I'm going to be cutting down at least 2 of these topics into smaller videos. I did release my State of Decay 3 video. It went up this morning at 8 a.m., which normally I don't release it that early. I usually do anywhere between 6 and 8 because that's what YouTube says is my best time. The video is not doing so great, so obviously I have to go back to releasing or at least getting these things done for the afternoon, or at least hold them then to the following day. But again, check it out. A lot of big information that was levied during the State of Decay conversation that myself and Fuzzy Belvedere had yesterday. And again, of course, if you're not already subscribed, please consider doing so. And I'm going to close the show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day be important to you, and that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. He'd say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated, and also it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you you're gonna have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.